All right. Well, again, good morning or good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today as we celebrate Global Advising Week. It is celebrated on or around May 2nd, as that is when the Articles of Incorporation were signed, creating NACADA. And so thank you to all of you advisors, success coaches, whatever title you may hold, but for all of the work that you do supporting students and helping them reach their goals and their potential. So my name is Kylie Moody, and I am in the executive office at NACADA. And I'm going to hand it over to Patrick, who is from Sophia Learning, who's going to tell you a little bit about Sophia Learning. And thank you very much to him and Sophia Learning for sponsoring all of the Global Advising Week activities. So, Patrick.
Awesome. Thank you, Kylie. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Again, happy Global Advising Week. Thank you for all that you do every day to support students. You guys are the unsung warriors of student success in higher education. So we are very grateful for all the work that you guys do. As Kylie said, my name is Patrick, and I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships here for Sophia Learning. If you're unfamiliar with Sophia, we support non-traditional students as an online credit for prior learning platform that provides affordable, self-paced, ACE recommended courses to help students support their educational journey. We've recently also received one of the first ever endorsements from the Higher Learning Commission as a short-term credential provider. This past year, we served over 240,000 learners across the United States, and our students have completed over 1.6 million courses and earned more than 4.8 million transfer credits. Our mission really is simple. It's about helping learners and students achieve their educational goals and expand access to economic mobility. We actually hear from our learners consistently that they're recommended to our platform by their advisors. So thank you all. And we're glad that we can help support students obtain their associate and their bachelor's degrees. We appreciate everything that you guys do to help support students. And with that, I'll pass it over to Aaron to have us get started for today.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kylie, and thank you to Patrick. We really appreciate NACADA giving us this opportunity and Sophia for sponsoring. And Lindsay and I are thrilled to bring this collaborative session to you today. From our two advising communities, Appreciative Advising Community and Theory, Philosophy, and History of Advising. We are excited to work with you today to, create some advising philosophies through the appreciative lens. So a little about us. My name is Erin Fox. I am honored to serve as the Director of Advising for Health and Human Sciences at UNC Greensboro and currently serve as the Chair of the Appreciative Advising Community for NACADA.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lindsay Greitz Weeks. I am an academic advisor in the College of Nursing at Newman University, and I am the chair of Theory, Philosophy, and History Advising Community. And we're so glad that you all could join us today. So just to go briefly through our agenda, we're going to start with a grounding and centering statement. We're going to review our overarching themes and some resources geared towards creating philosophy statements for advising. We're going to lead you through a meaningful work activity. And then, Erin, you want to take over the rest of
Yeah,
the agenda?
totally. So we thought we'd do the activity first, but we will obviously be connecting this back to the appreciative framework. Specifically, we're going to focus on the discover and design phases of the appreciative advising model. Then Lindsay's going to kind of share with us the larger appreciative mindset and how this works for us as advisors. And then, of course, we hope to leave lots of time for discussion, question and answers, sharing out so that we can continue to learn from and support each other.
Great. So as this collaborative event came together, part of the timing for this event, placing this event at the end of the semester and also during Global Advising Week, we thought it was a good time in the academic year to come together to reflect on, to celebrate our work that we've done throughout the course of the academic year. It's also a time when our attention and focus might be pulled in a variety of different directions at once. So we just invite you to use this time to take this hour for yourself. We envision this event as an opportunity to reconnect and attune to our beliefs and values as academic advisors, and also to appreciate the lived experiences that have shaped us as advisors and have shaped our advising philosophies. So we invite you to, to engage with that as well. Okay, so our sort of overarching themes of our session, the first theme is purpose, right? So why would we create an advising philosophy statement for ourselves, or if we have one already, why would
You know
we
what?
update it
I
or have
bet
it
you.
evolve? So whether we have a formalized, formulated statement of an advising philosophy, we are all working from our beliefs, our values, our vision of success for our students and for ourselves when we're advising our students. And so, so part of that purpose is to, to really think about how we are doing that, to reflect on what our practices over the last year have been, and and how those inform and reflect our advising philosophies. And if you have already created
Because
an
it's
advising
not like,
philosophy statement, you can also use this as an opportunity to think of, given changes in the higher education landscape, how have your practices and your philosophies evolved? So both are purposes that we bring to this session.
Yeah. And we know philosophy can be a big thing, no matter if you're, at the beginning of your career, if you are, a seasoned advisor, kind of reflecting back over lots of different experiences with advising, philosophy can feel kind of big and overwhelming. And of course, evolving over time, sometimes it takes a minute to think, where am I? Where do I actually find myself at this point? And so we thought specifically applying the appreciative framework to this might support the development a bit of philosophy statements. It gives us a place to kind of, connect, to give ourselves a little bit of direction, or just, kind of bring our focus in a little bit. So we're hoping to share, again, a couple of pieces of the appreciative framework that really support either the development of your philosophy statement, the expansion, or even give you some kind of new places to connect with yourself, your own advising practice, in ways that you may not have. And you'll hear me say this again in a moment, but, on my team, we talk a lot about, we give our students a lot of really wonderful tools and strategies. And sometimes, we need to give that gift to ourselves. And so that's part of how we kind of came to this, and really wanted to give, again, sort of a space within, an actual vessel within which to create. And then, of course, thinking about that appreciative mindset. So it's not just creating a philosophy, but how does that connect to our day-to-day work, the ways that, we can be gracious with ourselves, the work that we do, as, Patrick said in the beginning, sometimes it does feel a little bit like unsung heroes. Of course, this is a great time of year because we get to see those students who we've worked with, connected with along the way, achieving some of their goals. But we know the day to day, the years are short, but the days are long sometimes. And so really kind of on those, coming out of advising and registration season, thinking about the ways that we can just appreciate ourselves as advising professionals.
Yes. So we put together a resource page for this session. There's really a wealth of resources available that will support you in the creation or the updating of your advising philosophy statement. It's not really our goal to sort of go over all of those in depth because there really is a lot of information available. So we pulled together a resource page. It is, if you are able to scan the QR code, it is just kind of a one sheet with some quick links to the NACADA pillars of academic advising, some more information on advising theories and approaches. There are some examples of philosophy statements, and there's also a webinar or workshop recording, a link to that as well. So I just kind of curated those together into one sheet so that you would have them in one place. But that is a way that you can kind of explore any of these topics further beyond this session.
Lindsay. So again, kind of a grounding moment, and I will share what I'm about to lead you through is something that we do on my team with our first year experience class. So all of our advisors teach a first year experience, what we call a foundations class. That really helps students obviously develop, the academic skills and connect with campus resources, but also is really based in a design, a model of life design and thinking about purpose. And so some of those, you can call this many things. We call it a meaningful work statement. I've also seen this model called a purpose flower, and really a foundational concept is from Japanese culture that kind of means a reason for being. So that ikigai, that what's at the core being or purpose of your life. And so you can see in that there are things that we love to do. There are things that the world needs. There are things we can be paid for, which is important. As much as I love my work, I also like paying the mortgage and having food on the table. And then things we're good at. And we want you to lean into each of these pieces today. So what are the things that you love about being an advisor? What are the strengths that you bring to the advisor role? Obviously, advising is a vocation. It's a job. It has employment parameters around it. But then it's also, I think, something we would all agree that the world needs, and especially that our students need more now than ever. And so thinking about the ways that these things overlap and really come together at the core to support, our purpose work as advisors. All right. And so the activity we're about to go through, and I will say, Lindsay and I kind of debated this, whether to start with the framework or start with the activity, but we really, really wanted to be to have this session include a lot of takeaways. So this is very intentional that we want this to be something that you actually walk away from our session today with, a takeaway. And so we're going to jump right into the activity and then kind of follow up with some more, framework, other things to consider. But really, when we talk about crafting a meaningful work statement, it helps us identify how we serve the world in a meaningful way. And we talk about that a lot. My joy in working with health and human sciences students is they really do come to our campus wanting to serve the world. They come with a deep purpose, and helping students connect with that, really explore their values and the unique things that they have to give is really exciting for me every day. So we are going to jump right into this, and Lindsay is going to help manage the chat. So if you have questions, if you need some clarification, that's great. Feel free to ask that in the chat. But first, we want to give you just some, overarching questions. So please grab a pen, paper, phone, if it's easier for you to type out notes to yourself, whatever is your preferred mechanism. And we want to give you just a few minutes to consider these questions. So first, what drew you to advising? How did you get into this? I will tell you, honest disclaimer, like I fell into advising and then fell in love with it, so for me it was sort of accidentally on purpose. What drew you to advising work? What makes you unique as an advisor? Each of us brings a unique style to our advising practice. What is that for you? And then feel free to keep writing. But what is most important in your advising practice? So what are the things that, if we surveyed your students, that they would be able to say about you as an advisor? And then what do you hope your students gain from your advising interactions? What is it that you hope that they receive, from the benefit of having you as their advisor? And again, feel free to keep writing, but at the end of an academic year, of course, we know reflection is part of the learning process. And each of us has different, as Lindsay mentioned earlier, lived experiences, things that come into shape, our work, the things that we bring into the advising space. And so, what are a few things you've learned about yourself as an advisor this year? So I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this is just going to give you some options for words. Feel free to add your own, but I want you to consider how your advising makes an impact. So especially thinking about some of your traits, the skills that you bring in or that you've developed over time as an advisor. The strengths that you particularly bring to the advising process or advising conversations. I always say that reframing is one of my superpowers. Who's your audience? We all have different audiences. Some of us are really focused, obviously, on students. Some of us have roles where we're actually engaging more with faculty or campus partners. I even, I'm in the NACADA, I'm serving as a NACADA mentor right now. One of my mentees, she actually engages a lot with senior leadership and then also working with, in advisor training and development. So she's supporting the work of advisors and really passionate about that. So who's your main audience or, a key population that you serve? What are some needs that you see students, having that you are maybe especially good at supporting for them? And then again, what's the impact that you hope to make?
And feel free if you have some that you would like to share in the chat. Feel free to add those to the chat so we can see them. I'm happy to read some out once we get some other language that Erin and I haven't thought of. We can add to this list.
Yes, would love that.
Okay, so there was a question in the chat about repeating the questions. So Erin, maybe if you were to just go back a slide for a
Absolutely.
moment, so we can
Yeah.
go back to the brainstorming slide. But there's some really great skills and strengths coming up of patience, empathy, advocating, problem solving.
Oh no. I'm trying to get there, folks. There we go. All right. Reflection questions.
Validating, that's another great one that's
Yes.
come up with several. Collaboration.
Love that.
Great. Active listening is another skill. Empowerment. Empathy has come up. Patience, empathy, understanding have come up multiple times. So those are all good skills. Honesty,
Yes.
the ability to have a student leave feeling seen and heard. Being the person that you needed when you were in their position.
Yes, 1,000%.
Wordsmithing, I love that.
Yeah, it's so true.
It's definitely a skill.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody has had this experience recently, but it seems like lately I've spent some time working with students who needed help crafting an email to an instructor. And that is actually one of my favorite things to do. I think it really helps them learn that skill.
A lot about problem solving, decision making, choices, being non-judgmental.
Absolutely.
Relatability is that's a great concept to add to the mix. Self-awareness and reflection, very, very opportune for everything that we're talking about today.
Yes.
Self-advocacy, these are great. So I think now that we've generated some great language for what we're doing, I think we can move into the adaptability, one of my favorite
Very
words.
important. Yes. Great. Yes. So sounds like we really have a good pool to choose from. And thanks for y'all adding words to our glossary here, or sort of our pool to choose from. I encourage you to keep thinking of words as you move through this. We're literally going to play like advising Mad Libs right now. So this activity, we're going to create a meaningful work statement for ourselves, and you can see it's just a fill in the blank. So advising Mad Libs, let's go. My meaningful work is to use or develop my skills in, and express your specific skills, things that you have developed, and to leverage my strengths of what are the strengths that you particularly bring, some things that you feel, are maybe unique to you as an advisor, to support your audience or specific population with what are your population's needs. What are they trying to do, and what impact will you have as an advisor? There's also a more simple starter at the bottom. So again, if the lots of blanks feels a little overwhelming to you, feel free to make it as simple as possible. We'll ask you just to take a couple minutes to fill this out. We'd love to have people, share their statement in the chat, and then Lindsay might read some out just to give us some inspiration. But already I can tell that we've got great words and lots of great meaningful work happening from your contributions. Great. I see some might be coming
Okay,
in.
so we have one in the chat. Yes. My meaningful work is to use my communication skills and leverage my empathy to support students with navigating college so they can discover their own strengths and achieve their goals.
I love that. That is perfect. What a powerful statement.
And Patty added, my meaningful work is to use and develop my skills in building meaningful connections and helping students navigate uncertainty and leverage my strengths of empathy and communication to support all students, especially first generation and non-traditional students, with guidance and encouragement so that they feel confident navigating college and achieving their goals.
Nice.
That's
Love
great.
that.
That's very specific on your population and your audience and how your work supports them. And Sabrina added, I am here to guide and support students so that they have a successful academic and future career.
Perfect. I love that simplicity.
Okay, and Teresa added, my meaningful work is to develop my skills in communication and leverage my strengths of empathy. Whoops. Ah, I lost it. Sorry. Go back down. Strengths of empathy and problem solving to support undergraduate biomedical engineering students with academic and future planning so that they feel empowered to make informed decisions and work towards their goals. Joe added, my meaningful work is to use my skills in making jargon understandable and leverage my strengths of empathy and enthusiasm to support my online adult graduate students with feeling, I lost it again. Sorry. To support my online adult graduate students with feeling a sense of community and support so that they have less things to worry about in their already busy life.
Amazing.
That's
Yes.
great. All right. We read two more here. From Lauren, my meaningful work is to use my skills in communication and leverage my strengths of relatability to support my students with their future and academic success with support so that they may have a successful college outcome. And I'm here to support candidates so they can persist and thrive in their journeys here at our institution and beyond.
Amazing.
That's wonderful.
Yes. Thank y'all so much for, oh, sorry, go ahead, Lindsay.
No, I was just going to say this are all great starting points, jumping off points that could be expanded outwards. Some are, really focused in already on audience and specific impact. But it's really great to see everybody's meaningful work statements come together.
Absolutely. And, these are meant to grow and evolve over time. This is just a jumping off point. I will tell you mine. I have done this several times now. There have been several iterations over the past 4 or 5 years. Mine no longer actually starts with my meaningful work. But it talks about how I'm a leader and advocate. So as a leader and advocate, I serve with joy and ingenuity and tenacity. I approach all opportunities with a strong value of excellence and strive to facilitate authentic connections, thoughtful change, and empowering growth. And that felt good to me because I no longer, have students as my only population. I also have a team of advisors who I want to support. I have campus stakeholders who I really want to engage with, again, authentically. And so I want to say, this is a starting point. This by no means the box that you need to stay in. We also recognize that philosophy is a larger thing. I was talking with a student in our master's program recently who is developing an advising philosophy the first time. And, I said, like, what theories have you been learning about in your program? Like, what frameworks do you feel like specifically resonate with you? Are those something important to include in your philosophy? And so, we want to kind of bring in, again, the appreciative advising framework. So here's the model. My friend Jenny Bloom and, of course, Bryant Hudson and Dr. Hutt have created this model for us. And so Lindsay is going to chat with us a little bit in a moment about like expanding to the mindset. But first, I'll share just a little bit about the framework. So again, the framework has 6 phases. We're going to focus on 2 of those today, which you just did. So, you're already in the appreciative framework. Congratulations. So first, in the Discover framework, that is a process of asking generative, open-ended questions that really make us explore within ourselves. So often we're helping students explore themselves, thinking about, what is important to them, meaningful, what lights them up. And then how can we connect those with some of their strengths and skills? So we're kind of, mining for those things that they really bring in and contribute to the situation. And then, of course, things that they're really passionate about that they, lose time doing that, get them out of bed in the morning. I think it's important to ask ourselves those same questions. I have shared with Lindsay previously, there was a time in my career when I really thought about getting out of higher ed. I got into a place where, it wasn't, I wasn't enjoying the day to day. And so I made a promise to myself years ago. And this is actually when, part of my advising journey, commitment to advising, that I decided like, there are going to be hard days. Sure, we don't need toxic positivity, but how can we continue to, like look for the joy in our work? How can we continue to seek the joy that exists? Policy is going to be challenging sometimes. There are going to be decisions made that maybe we don't like. Sometimes, as much as you want to support a student, it's not their time, and that's a really hard experience. But I can seek the joy in those experiences and keep my passion alive for it. So that's the discover phase. And then there's also the design phase. And so that's really when you are creating a plan. So we've got all this great information about what we're excited about, what we're good at, why it's important to us. But we want to put that in action. So design is really about creating an action plan. And I would really encourage everyone here to maybe consider inviting a buddy or a mentor or even a mentee to kind of help you co-create. Who can be your partner through the, continuing to evolve as an advisor practice? It could be your advising team. Sometimes I connect with other directors of advising for health and human sciences, which is always fun. Lindsay has been an amazing partner as we put this together. But so consider inviting a buddy really to help you stay accountable to that plan. Include some concrete, incremental, achievable goals. So maybe, okay, here are some things I learned about myself this year. Where do I want to take my practice next? What are things that I want to give next semester? This semester, I had a lot of life stuff going on. So like one of the things I really want to include as a goal next year is actually getting up and walking out of the office at lunchtime. That has been hard for me this year. And I'm sure many of you can resonate with that. But so, that's a goal. It doesn't necessarily contribute like immediately to like an advising piece, but I think it models rest for our students, for my team members, and it also rejuvenates me for, the remainder of the day. And so that's actually a goal that I have for, moving forward. And hopefully I'll get good at it this summer and then take it into the fall. And then, what are some action steps that really help your big dream become a reality? So that's the design phase. We're taking the things that we discovered and really putting it into a plan for ourselves. So I'm going to hand it off to Lindsay, and she's going to share a little bit more just about that appreciative mindset and applying that every day.
Yes. So in all of our process of collaboration, we've been talking throughout about how, we in our for example, in the chat where we just generated all of the things that we're hoping to give to students, to provide our students with, to help them engage and access, that we can turn that lens inward on ourselves and appreciate the uniqueness of our experiences that we bring to that role. So our goal in viewing our advising philosophies and our advising practices from an appreciative mindset, our goal is to, to really celebrate, like Erin said, the joy that we find, and the meaning that we find, the impact that we find in what we do every day, because there are those moments that are more challenging, and being able to reflect back on the moments of empowerment and resilience and growth can give us a way to to continue to move forward. So part of that appreciative mindset is what we just engaged in the meaningful work activity, that curiosity and learning about ourselves and our own practices, right? So, reflecting on our stories, our narratives, what we bring that's unique and individual to, to the development of our craft individually. Um, we also want, in that appreciative lens, to be remembering that when it sometimes feels like we are at the mercy of larger policy decision, or larger higher education climate, that we do have power within our relationships with our students, with our colleagues, with the people that we engage with on our campuses, and, in formats like this through professional development, that we do have power to be able to, to explore what we're doing, and to really, um, you know, explore our own growth and our own learning in that way. So having that as a lens, if you are crafting an advising philosophy statement, to tie it back to that, that it is a statement of your power of what you're doing through your work. So as Erin and I were kind of talking about philosophy statements, we had this sort of balance of of aspirational. This is what I want to do, what I want to achieve, through my practices, but also grounded in the present moment and the present reality. So both reflecting each other and both sort of mutually supporting each other. What I aspire to, impacting what I'm doing in the moment, and what I'm doing in the moment shaping and shifting what I see as my advising philosophy. And with all of that, we have the, approach of self-compassion and gratitude, that we are, evolving as practitioners and as people, and that we're learning, and that, that all of this growth is a process, and that there's joy, and gratitude within that. So we want to offer that as a lens, and as a way to, to create an appreciative space, as we do for our students and our colleagues, and, for everyone else, to focus that inward and create an appreciative space for ourselves as well. Okay, so we wanted to kind of just give some summary key takeaways, and then we did want to open up for discussion and question and answer. Everybody has had some really great, comments and reflections in the chat already, so we'd love for you to expand on those. But basically, what we wanted to have you take away from the session was that, whatever state of progress your philosophy statement is, whether it's like kind of just conceptual, or you have something already, and you're going to revise it, those statements are evolving, they're living, right? And they're impacted by our lived experiences and our practices. Both are, informing and inflecting the other. And so it's this continual re-engagement and this continual process. So we wanted to leave you with that. And also that we each bring our own lived experiences to our practices and to our philosophies. And so there's space for that individuality and uniqueness, and what you individually bring contributes to the larger whole, right? And that hopefully our philosophy statements reflect who we are.
Absolutely. And so thinking about that appreciative mindset, again, touching on that, we give a lot of things to our students. We encourage them to reflect. We really encourage their growth, affirm for them, or, even support their development, the ways they invest in themselves, and really thinking about the ways, again, we can give that gift to ourselves. So the ways that we appreciate, how we have grown and developed, and the ways that we continue to learn. I think Lindsay and I both value that about being part of the higher ed community, that, we never have to stop learning. It's a place that kind of always, gives us that opportunity. Of course, some days you're like, I can't hold anything else. We get to that point of saturation at times in the semester, but certainly, riding that wave through the year. And especially as we move into summer, we really hope that you can continue to stay in that appreciative mindset. What went well this year? What are the things that I was able to contribute? And what's exciting for me to learn next in this joy of a journey of, kind of seeking the joy and supporting our students in their development. And then, of course, that meaningful work piece. We want to encourage you to actually, of course, the takeaway for yourselves. I will tell you, my team, we have our purpose statements both hung in our conference room, and then each of us has our own in our office somewhere, so we can see that. It's kind of a living how I'm approaching my work today. And every year when we do teen training in August, we actually, bringing new graduate assistants on board, we ask them to go through that at training. We help them create a statement and also revise our own so that it does become kind of a living piece of our work. And so if that's something that you want to take, Lindsay put together that great resource folder. I'm also happy to share resources at any time. But then also, thinking about ways that we rejuvenate ourselves as we continue to move forward, because this is lived experience and really purpose work, not just kind of clocking in and getting a paycheck. What are the ways that we can really go back to that meaning, and finding the ways that this, yes, of course, we want to contribute to our students' lives, but hopefully we also feel poured into. And so we would love to just open it up for questions and answers. If you have continued working on your statement and you want to share that in the chat, that would be great. Feel free to unmute yourselves, ask questions. We really want this to be a space where we can all feel supported in our continuing development and the core of our work as advisors.
One question that's already in the chat that's more of like a logistical question is about sharing the slides. So I don't know, I know that the video recording will be available. Kylie, is there a way that we can post the slides as well on the same page as the video?
We might be able to, or if you send me an email, I can send them to you if that works. Okay, that might be the easiest way.
Thank you.
Sure, that works too. And there was a request to share the resource document again. So I did put that in the chat again. So if someone was looking for that, that is there in the chat. So there's a question. Oh, there was a question that Aaron already answered. So about how your philosophies shape your everyday practices, and how you interact with your team on that question. So Aaron, you already answered it before you knew it was the question.
Hey.
There's a question, given all the things that are out of our control as advisors, what are some specific ways that you have found this process to be empowering? So I mean, for myself, I work in college of nursing, and so with nursing students, there are a lot of ups and downs. There are a lot of challenges. They have a lot of challenging conversations with students who are not, possibly not able to follow their education pathway that they originally set out for themselves and have to, kind of re-envision that. Um, what I find, taking it back to the lived experience concept, while I am not in healthcare and I was never a nursing student, the experience of facing challenges and setbacks in your education is something that I do deeply relate to. And so the content might be different, but the experience is very similar. And so, just encouraging students to, finding that as a point of connection, first of all, but also encouraging students that, even when a pathway is not what you initially thought it was going to be, that doesn't mean that you haven't gained skills and knowledge and experience and, all of those things through that pathway. And that it doesn't have to, it might not look the way you initially envisioned, but, but sometimes those moments of challenge can bring greater nuance to your ultimate goal, and can kind of be moments of clarification. So I would say I rely on heavily on that from my own experiences, my own educational experiences, in relating to my students, if that helps.
And I saw a really great comment in the chat about Robin, thank you for sharing this. After almost leaving higher ed from being the harm that is still integrated in the system and questioning if I was complicit, the way I'd resolve that ethical dilemma was to focus on harm reduction. So don't let what we can't do interfere with what we can do. And that really resonated with me because that is the going question we always ask ourselves on my team. We do not like some of the things that are happening. It's challenging always to navigate, especially when things that happen outside of our control may challenge some of our ethical considerations as advisors and helpers with our students. And so, I think that is like the focus on what can we do. How can we continue to support students? How can we continue to operate in ways that feel authentic and ethical to us as advisors? That is something that really has carried us through the last 2 years on my team. And again, I encourage them, like, we're not saying everything is sunshine and rainbows all the time. I really try to open space in all of our team meetings to talk about the things that are not going well, so we can, kind of process those together. But then reminding ourselves, like, just like we encourage students to have agency, we have agency. And so what's the agency that we want to exercise as advisors, and really, creating as much good for our students as possible. And I'm going to totally forget the person I'm quoting right now, but one of my wonderful teammates has a sign on her door that says, I can't do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. And that is something that really has become kind of a guiding statement for our group. I did see a request in the chat to go back to
Yes, there's a request for the slide with the
model. Yes.
6 steps. Yep. And then there's also a request for email addresses, and that'll be our last slide. So we will share that. That will be shared as well.
So these are the 6 phases of appreciative advising. The model kind of starts at the kind of red triangle there with disarm, and continues, but it is cyclical. And we always say, you might not use all the pieces in every conversation. As advisors, we kind of have to assess sometimes on the fly what our students need in particular conversations. As Lindsay mentioned, I also work with a lot of students coming out of the nursing program who maybe for whatever reason have realized nursing is not for them or not at this time. And so with those students, I have very different conversations maybe than, a student who is, like getting ready to move into the upper division of our speech language pathology program. And so, just different phases might be more prevalent in certain conversations, but I really encourage you to go to the Office of Appreciative Education website. They have this model there, and you can see a little bit more about that. So I'm going to skip to the end here for our email addresses just to make sure everybody has those. But please continue to ask us questions, contribute in the chat where I'm really enjoying this. I feel like we might be getting a lot of thank yous. So I want to go ahead and say we really have enjoyed spending time with you today. We are, again, so thankful to NACADA and Sophia for supporting us being part of NACADA Global Advising Week. Lindsay, it has been a dream to connect with you and get to present together in this process. And again, to all of you, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to connect with you. I'll be at annual conference in October and would love to connect with you there. Yes, again, thank you for spending part of your time with us today. We realize it's the end of probably a very long semester and hope that you have wonderful times at your commencement events and things coming up as we celebrate students in the next week or so.
Yes, as Erin said, this really has been so much fun to work on and to put together. We really, we're excited to share this with you all, and we're so happy that that you all were able to attend today. And really, thank you for your, for your comments, for your, reflections and questions. And we really appreciate this conversation, and are grateful for the opportunity to be able to do it. So thank you.
And we'll stick around for a few more minutes since we have a few more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share if I can figure out how to do that.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, because I'm speaking in a low voice because we're in registration.
Oh.
Yeah, because
Leslie.
I love the advising philosophy. I update my philosophy always, all the time.
And Leslie,